Hi, Dr. Keith here, and I want to talk to you about something very important. In fact, what I'm going to do here is a short explanatory video about some very important equipment for us boomers and third agers. In fact, anyone who cares about aging gracefully and competently, and that's a good word, to remain competent in one's faculties. Now, I'm planning a major webinar on this, but for now, I think this is important enough to get the message out to you. It's about something you've met before, but in fact, we've moved on at pace. There's been huge advances in the science and the technology too. And it's important. You know, we're all aging steadily. Well, some of us quicker than others, but even those of us who take care of ourselves, we're still steadily aging. You can't get around that. But we can hold it back, thank goodness. Now, there's a load of baloney science about the fact that we're supposed to be brains. We're not, but that's for another day, really. Maybe just simply I can use the cell phone or radio model to explain that point. Just because we can turn on a radio and listen to music doesn't mean the singer or the band is inside the radio. Duh. Just because damaging the radio would block and distort the music doesn't mean we are the radio. And it certainly doesn't mean the radio station has gone away just because you can't tune in anymore and hear anything else on your little set. Well, so it is with aging brain and loss of cognitive functions. The brain may be affected, and that's our ability to connect and broadcast and listen to broadcasts. But it's not actually the us or me element. That's the important thing to understand. It's just the connectivity with the outside world. Dementia, we can think of probably as just static coming out over the radio set. And just as I'm recording this, we're all thinking of the sad case of Bruce Willis, although there are hundreds of millions of people gradually sinking into dementia at an early age. And of course, some people get into their hundreds, beyond 110, and no sign of dementia. So it's not at all what they think. But the point is, it is sensible, it makes sense to look after our radio set, our brain. It's the only one we have from birth to death. So it's precious. Now, fortunately, we're living in a time when all this is better understood. There's science and also technology to help preserve our brains and brain function for as long as possible. Nothing is finer or more accurate and effective in tuning our brains than electronic technology. It's not surprising, really, since the brain itself is a mighty fine chunk of microelectronic technology. Now, one of the devices I most want to talk to you about is the Vielight Neuro, this one, patented and developed by Lou Lim and his team in Toronto, Canada. That's what I'm wearing. And it will help preserve my formidable brain, and I'm going to explain it to you. Actually, it comes in kind of two flavors, as it were. There's a Neuro Gamma and a Neuro Alpha. This one happens to be the Alpha, which is great for relaxing, adopting a soothing mental ambience. The original set was the Alpha, great for relaxation and de-stressing, as I said. But the all-singing, all-dancing Gamma, that's the main one on which most of the science now is based. Let me just explain those terms a little bit. This has to do with brainwave frequency. When we awake, typically we're in beta frequency. That's up to about 25 hertz. A hertz, by the way, means a beat per second, and it's named after the German physicist Heinrich Hertz. 1 beat per second would be 1 hertz. So 25 hertz is 25 beats a second. Now, alpha is a slower, I'm not going to give you the numbers now, you can look them up. But if we slow down the brainwave frequency, then we drop into alpha, which is that relaxed state, slightly introverted, you know, maybe looking at nice pictures, nice thoughts inside your head. You're still aware of your surroundings, but partially internalized and chilled, as we might say. Below that comes theta, which is the frequencies of dreaming and trance states. You know, a much heavier, out of it feeling, but still the person is there and aware. If you tap them on the shoulder or the door bangs or the telephone rings, they'll hear it. They're with us. But below that comes delta, which is a very low frequency, and that's associated with sleep, and the person wouldn't necessarily hear you talking or wouldn't necessarily hear the telephone going off. Well, the important thing is gamma, which is a much higher frequency, and that's associated with optimum brain functioning, basically. That's the kind of contraption I've got on my head, the neuro, the Vielight. Well, I say Vielight. A lot of people say Vielight because it's V-I-E. But to me, that's Vielight. Anyway, I may be the only one that says Vielight, but I say Vielight. Let me say straight off that for benefits, you don't have to wear this contraption all the time. I put it on just for a demonstration. You need to use this 3, 4, or 5 times a week, not more than 6 days a week. We don't want to push too hard. Now, there's great science showing its effect in its beneficial effect in reversing. I mean, yes, reversing dementia. You know, people wake up again and become reconnected with their loved ones. Reversing aging, Parkinson's disease, traumatic brain injuries, and more. It's really a kind of mental health revolution, but it has important spiritual importance too. I'm talking about hanging on to our real selves for as long as possible before the music that's you starts to get a bit drowned out by aging, before the radio set starts to detune a little bit. Now, there's, as I said, good science. The Wall Street Journal reported that, and this is their quote, MRI scans showed improved functional connectivity and oxygenation. That's how we know the brain is being active and switched on. Anyway, it said improved connectivity and oxygenation in specific networks of the brain. It also has mitochondrial stimulation effects, and those that you know about mitochondria, they're our energy bunnies, and the better and happier they are and the busier on the job, the more energy and vitality we feel. Now, this is cold near infrared frequencies and laser light where it's used here. This is laser light, for example. No heating and side effects, in other words. But it's very accurate and precise, and it can be concentrated on any brain network, especially what we call the default network mode. That's your brain's sort of going to sleep, relaxing mode, if you like. The brain doesn't actually go to sleep, switch off, but if it goes into default mode, then you're no longer aware and no longer with us until wake-up time. Now, this thing here, that pointing up my nose, is aimed directly at the olfactory bulb, which is associated with long-term memory. Some of you who read up a lot may be aware that that smell stimulus can be the most powerful stimulant of past memories. It's really quite remarkable. But it also shines up onto what's called, and wait for it, folks, but the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. That's the bit of the brain here. Ventromedial means it's coming up from underneath. And this is a very important area that we're just starting to understand. It has many complex functions, things like intelligence coming from assessment of risk versus reward, also connected with emotional stability, and let's face it, if it gets messed up, definitely associated with specific psychiatric disorders like depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, addiction, social anxiety disorder, bipolar even, and attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder. As I said, this is reached by the nasal one, which shines directly through the bone at the base of my skull. And yes, before you ask the question, our skulls are completely transparent to infrared radiation of this kind. Well, I said that, the big number is the neuro gamma. Most of the research was accompanied with that. It's been shown to just do all the good things, increase cognitive ability, memory, cerebral blood flow, in lots of independent studies. They're not just studies produced by the manufacturer. In fact, overall gamma brain waves are associated with a higher brain function like cognition and memory. We know that gamma frequency now is associated with sort of brain cleansing, getting rid of the gunk and the toxic debris, and being able to remove and filter out things like the amyloid plaques that we so worry about. As I said, gamma wave frequency, actually, I'm not sure I did say, I went down through from beta, alpha, and theta wave. But I don't think I did say that gamma waves are around 40 hertz and plus. That correlates very well with energization, problem solving, and focus. And interestingly, although relaxation lowers your brainwave frequency, we found that really switched on meditators, those who've been doing it for 20 years and kind of the gurus and the turned on people, they get into gamma wave frequencies really quite easily. The gamma is sufficient for most people, I think. By the way, let me just say, if you want to learn more about these devices, just scroll down, look at lower on the page, pictures and information, and then you can click on something. And if you're of a mind to go and get one, and you should, I think everyone in our age group, the boomers and the third ages, should have one of these. I mean, they're really, for what they are, they're modestly priced, less than a couple of thousand. In fact, you can have an alpha and gamma duo for like 3,000. I mean, that's nothing when you consider the cost of treatment for dementia and aging symptoms and so on. I mean, it can be 3,000 a week, for goodness sake, and a minimum of 3,000 a month. Some of these treatments are horrendously expensive. And if you had the bad luck to end up in home care, being hospitalized, it would be disastrously expensive. It would probably ruin your family. So I'm not at all shy about saying these things are very good value for money, and you should just stump up, even if you've got to give up something, sell the television to raise some funds or something. Okay, so that's what I want to say. The Vielight Alpha, the Vielight Gamma, and the Vielight Duo, which combines the two. You'll find more about those on this page. So if you scroll down, you can get more facts and some clickable links. And even once you're very sure that you trust and believe what I'm telling you, and you should, then go get one. Okay, I can't say any better than that. All right, thanks. Take care.